Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got a really interesting load to test out. It's one that actually caught my eye probably a month ago or so, and I was going to order some, but this company actually surprised me and sent me some without even me really realizing until it showed up. So I'm definitely excited to test it and see what it can do, because it should give us some pretty interesting results. Before the shells we got today, big thank you to Keith and the guys from over at Salt Creek Ammo for sending some of these over. They make some great shells, but they kind of surprised me by sending me some of these. I definitely didn't expect it. But for those shells, they are some of these newer Salt Creek Ammo Cold Turkey blend shells. These ones are the 12 gauge, 3-inch, 2-ounce payload of TSS 10s blended with lead 5s. We have tested some Salt Creek blend shells before, but I believe they were 9s and 5s or 9s and 6s or something about like that. And now they've got these 10s and 5s, which makes for a really interesting loading for sure. With that small of a TSS pellet blended with the lead pellet, it might kind of make for a natural buffer material in a sense. I'm really curious to see how well these shells actually work and how consistent of a pattern we can get. Now, I don't expect full-on lights out TSS patterns, and I don't expect full-on best of the best Longbeard XR lead patterns either, but if we can get a nice middle ground, even spread, I think that's what we're probably going to go for with these shells. And I think they should be capable of doing it, since they are kind of the middle ground between lead and TSS. I think these are $38 or $39 a box or something about like that, so kind of the mid price between a lead and TSS shell as well. So we'll see what they can do. As for the shotgun combo we're going to start with, I brought out my Remington 870 special purpose. It's got a 26-inch barrel on it, and we're going to start with the Patternmaster Code Black Turkey. It's a 565 construction choke, and this is what the previous blend shells did well through, as well as what they suggest and recommend on their website. So I figured if they suggest it, that's what we'll start with and get a baseline, and we can move chokes and constrictions and stuff around from there. So in theory, should be a decent combo if they're suggesting it. But as for today's test, we're running everything the same as usual. I've got the turkey target set up at 40 yards and the chrono so we can get our velocity. So let's get you guys a view of that target, and we'll see what these Salt Creek Cold Turkey blend shells with the TSS 10s and lead 5s can actually do. I think we've got some good potential for a really nice pattern, but let's take our shot and see what we get. Alright, that shell gave us 1,054 through the chrono. There wasn't a claim on the box for velocity, but if it says anything on their website, I'll pop it up on the screen now for a claim. But we had a 26-inch barrel, so we're probably seeing a little bit less than what they're saying we should be. Either way, mid-thousands is just fine for this shell. It's going to do the job out to 40 yards. But did they actually pattern well? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so here we are down at our 40-yard paper, and we definitely see some pretty interesting results here. We were a little bit high and to the right, which kind of surprises me, because over the last several tests I've done with that 870, when I have the 26-inch barrel on it, I've dialed it in to where I'm usually hitting right on the money with it, and that particular choke and shell combo, definitely favorite high. I mean, it is a blend shell of both lead and TSS, so that definitely plays into it, and is a perfect reason why you should always test with the exact combo you want to hunt with before just taking it out in the woods. Either way, we do indeed still have a dead bird at 40. There's a couple through the brain and a couple more through the top of the spine that would have done the job. So this pattern does give you some leeway to work with, but our core is definitely somewhere just off the top right edge of that turkey target there. And I tried to differentiate with the size of the circles that I drew around the pellets, what's a TSS 10 and what's a lead 5. The lead pellets being a little bit bigger circles than what the TSS pellets are. Kind of makes it look a little bit goofy, but we can still get a good idea on what's going on here. And just initially looking at the entire pattern, I would say it's probably pretty similar to what we would get with something like a Winchester Double X load. If we bring it into where our core is, just off the right edge of that turkey target, we absolutely have enough pellets to do the job, no doubt about it. There would be nowhere that bird can go to and get through that pattern whatsoever, but it is a little bit more of a broad spread. We don't have a super tight, super hot core. I didn't expect to have that from these shells. I expected to have a little bit more broad pattern as long as it held a pretty even spread, and for the most part throughout our core area, it did. And you can see here when we're up close that it's a pretty decent mix between the TSS pellets with those smaller circles and the lead pellets with the bigger circles. Now outside of that core, we might get a little bit thin up to the top right here, and we might have a little bit of straggly stuff over here to the left, as well as a few flyers down around the bottom as well. So I don't think this is a perfect pattern. It's definitely not bad, but I think we can probably get quite a bit better out of it as well. Based on what they show for the product picture on their website, this is definitely a little bit more of an open pattern than what they were getting anyway. And I will go ahead and pause it here in editing as well and throw up the 10-inch circle equivalent around our core area so you can see what it looks like, since we were favoring a little high and right. Again, not the hottest core, but it's a good even spread and good mixture of both pellet sizes within there, and clearly that's plenty capable at 40 yards to do the job. And yes, this shell isn't going to be for everybody. Some people are going to like the idea of it. Some people are going to really like that pattern, having a mixture of lead and TSS that's a little bit more broad, that gives them a little more leeway to work with. But other people just aren't going to really see the point in this shell, because it is kind of right in that middle ground. Because it's a lead TSS blend, it's kind of mid-priced, and it's kind of the middle of the road balance of performance here as well. So although this is not a terrible pattern, it's plenty capable for 40 yards, I definitely wouldn't mind seeing it brought in just a little bit. But if we can bring in at least these edges a little bit and kind of get them up there into a 18-inch spread, that's probably going to be kind of what we're looking at. But we've got a good base to work off of, if nothing else, because our core is already pretty even looking. Maybe a touch more constriction might help these, or maybe a touch less constriction, or a different choke. Blend shells can definitely be touchy sometimes, so you got to test them and find what they really like. So we're off to a decent start, but we've got some work to do, and I think we can definitely get a little better out of them. And here's the wad from that shell, and it's nice to see this particular one because it sure looks like one of those ballistic products, LBC, low bore contact wads, and we know these have a very good reputation from our testing with them anyway. No major damage, nothing stuck down in there, and it looks about like it typically does. We know these are really good wads, so we just got to try and find the choke combo that really works well with these blend shells. And that really doesn't surprise me either from our previous testing with a bunch of other blend loads. But for the wad, at least we know it's a good one, and we should be able to figure out something that really works with these shells. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that result right there? It's a solid starting point, and I think we should be able to fine tune it a little more than that. At least that's the hope anyway. That already would make for a perfectly fine 40 yard and in type of spread, and for some people, that might be the kind of combo that interests them, or that they like using if they're getting that kind of pattern. If they're shooting their birds at 25 yards most of the time, they don't need to run a full-on TSS load, but some of them might still want to run TSS and just not have as tight of a spread. Something like that could work for performance and price sake, although I know there's going to be just as many people that just aren't interested in a shell like that. And both opinions are perfectly fair, but these do sit kind of right in that middle ground, so we got to try and test them through several different combos and see what they like, because I think we can definitely get a little bit more than that out of it. Either way, we now have a baseline, and we can try some different chokes, maybe some different constrictions, and see what we get out of them. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Salt Creek cold turkey blend shells, and if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is this a pattern or a combo or a shell that you would actually use to hunt with, or are you one of the ones that would just rather run an all lead shell or an all TSS shell? Or is that exactly the kind of performance and shell and pricing and stuff that you're looking for? And what other choke combos do you want to see us run these shells through that you think might be a good performer with them? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.